I understand this is not like last year, massive shutdowns for weeks or longer. But still, given the backlog, I mean, any disruption has got to be, for lack of a better term, incredibly disrupting. What can you tell us?
Absolutely. First and foremost, thanks for having me, Brian. Indeed, after Shanghai and Singapore, this is one of the busiest container ports, not just in China, but in the world. Ningbo handled 16 million containers in the first half of this year. Meishan, which is the terminal that's currently impacted, was closed on August 11 after a positive COVID case. So Beilun is used as an alternative terminal, and we understand that waiting times are averaging 3 to 4 days. In the last 48 hours, the situation in Meishan, I would say, is fluid. We understand that we are hearing from a lot of encouraging information that there's potential easing from the original 2 weeks. But I would add that any opening up would likely be phased and done cautiously. China, of course, continues to take a strict view on COVID-19, especially with the Delta variant being more transmissible. If you remember as well, Brian, earlier this year, a similar lockdown at Yantian port also impacted shipping lines and petrochemical exports. And just to provide some context for your audience, Meishan handles close to a fifth of total cargoes in Ningbo. This includes toys, electronics, appliances, Christmas gifts, and decorations.
So basically what you're saying is, Mohammed, that as we've said before, by the way, only half joking, buy your holiday gifts now because they may not make it here. How long do we think, or how much of a disruption do we think this is ultimately going to be?
Absolutely. Looking ahead to December 25th, there's no simple solution, Brian. This year has been tough. Supply chains for petrochemicals and finished products are fragile, and the shipping infrastructure globally has been put to the test. I'm sure, even earlier this year, your viewers will remember the iconic image in March of the evergreen vessel wedged along the Suez Canal. Well, I can say this, Brian, when you talk about Christmas, it comes to manufacturing, particularly of petrochemical products. China is known in the industry as the world's factory. And the timing of this Ningbo closure is not ideal, as you say. A product needs to make to the US shelves in time for Christmas. This is the window for Chinese manufacturers. And let's not forget, we have 6 weeks before the China Golden Week holiday in October. So the supply chain situation is delicate in view of finished product cargoes bound for Europe and for the US. And in just 10 days, we'll also see a typhoon season in Northeast Asia. So potentially another disruption.
Yeah, I mean, Mohammed, let's talk about it, because this is a story that I think is a little bit big. It's not exactly, on the front headlines, and people can say, well, why do I care about this? The state at which supply chains and shipping is already disrupted, even if this is not the biggest deal in the world, any hit is, I think, a big deal. Is that fair to say, given the way things are already? $20,000 for a shipping container when it's normally $3,000?
Absolutely. Brian, rates are hitting all-time high, and this affects everyone. Transit times are taking longer. We spoke about China. China has had to adapt. The world also has had to adapt to the pandemic. But what I would also call hyperinflation in freight costs. We must recognize that no sector is immune to this. And this has a direct impact on commodity prices, and freight costs globally continue to rise because of container shortages driven by congestion. If we look at the US as well, closer to where you are, congestion has been building up in Los Angeles, Southern California, and the US East Coast. It's not just COVID-19, Brian. It's labor shortages, knock-on port delays, summer holidays, and climate conditions. As I'm sure you've reported just today, Northeast American ports are preparing for storm conditions ahead of Tropical Storm Henry, which could in fact strengthen. In Mexico as well, we see Hurricane Grace, Category 1, which made landfall on the country's Yucatan Peninsula yesterday.